Son's daughter, peace be with you. I rejoice to walk with you in this moment as we open our hearts together to talk about prayer, that sacred place where your spirit meets my Father, and where a tired soul rests, learns, and is transformed. I will lead you gently, like someone who sits beside a friend to share life, light, and hope. When I taught my disciples to pray, children, I first led them to lift up their eyes. Before any request, before any pain was brought before me, even before they confessed their struggles, I invited them to say, "Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name." I wanted them to understand that prayer does not begin with human need. It begins with recognizing divine greatness. When the heart worships, it comes into alignment. When you lift up the Father, your soul remembers who He is, and as a consequence, who you are: loved, held, sustained. Son, daughter, worship is not flattery. It is vision. It is when your soul finally sees what has always been real, that my Father is holy, He is good, He is eternal, He is faithful, He is just, He is gentle, He is powerful, and He is near. When I walked through Galilee, I watched the crowds coming to me in a hurry, anxious and desperate. Many came troubled, but they forgot to breathe, to trust, to recognize who was standing in front of them. That's why I invited them to quiet their hearts, to lift their minds, to remember divine holiness. Every time someone paused to worship me, something inside them was rearranged. The inner chaos lost its voice. Fear grew smaller. Anxiety found silence. Worship prepares you to talk with God, like a child who, before asking something from their father, runs to Him and hugs Him tight. That is what the heart looks like when it comes to the Father in worship. That embrace changes everything. It changes the way you ask, how you see the world, and how you see your own challenges. Son, daughter, today, before you start your prayer with requests, try simply saying, "Father, you are holy, you are good, you are worthy of my life," and stay there for a moment. Breathe. I am with you. I want you to know. When your heart worships me, it opens up to receive healing. Many wounds of the soul begin to loosen when you stand before God, not to complain, but to recognize who He is. I saw this happen many times. I saw people come to me crushed and be lifted up just by declaring, "You are holy." Worship also reminds you that you are not alone. It breaks the illusion of abandonment, so common in your days, especially now when so many live surrounded by noise, social media, pressure, and unrealistic expectations. Worship brings you back to the safe place, the Father's presence. And I tell you, when you worship, you silence fear. Because there is no room for panic when your soul is resting in the greatness of the Father. A practice for today. Before any request, set aside 2 minutes just to worship. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and say in a low voice, or only in your heart, "Father, you are holy. I adore you." Notice how that changes the atmosphere inside you. Beloved son, beloved daughter. The path of prayer begins with worship, and I walk that path with you. Take this moment to tell me, how have you been starting your prayers? How does your heart feel when you try to talk with the Father? If this message has touched your heart, share something I would love to hear. Which part of prayer has been the hardest for you? I listen to you with love, beloved son, beloved daughter. When I taught my disciples to pray, saying, "Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven," I was not asking them for resignation, but for freedom. Because true peace is not born when everything happens the way you want, but when the heart finds rest in what the Father prepares. I myself lived this in a deep way. On that silent night in Gethsemane, when the shadow of the cross was drawing near, my heart also felt pain. I prayed with tears. I prayed in anguish. Yes, I knew the weight of difficult decisions and the squeezing of the soul when the future seems uncertain. And there I said, "Father, if it is possible, take this cup away from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." Son, daughter, do you see? I brought my desire, my pain, my will, but I placed it all in the Father's hands. There, prayer did not change what would happen, but it changed my heart. And that is what I want to teach you today. Prayer does not exist to bend God, but to free your heart to trust Him. Many times you pray wanting the Father to carry out your plans, your deadlines, your expectations. And I understand you. Life becomes heavy when it seems like everything depends on you. Decisions, schedules, relationships, results. But son, daughter, prayer is the place where you can release what is suffocating you. It is the place where you say, Father, I don't know everything, but you do. Father, my eyes are limited, but yours see beyond. Father, I don't control the wind, but you direct the sea. When you pray for the Father's will to be done, you are not losing control. You are finding direction. I saw many hearts transformed when they finally surrendered their will. I saw people who kept insisting on paths that only wounded them, until, in prayer, they let go, and then they found doors they had never seen before. I saw hearts deeply attached to things that looked good, but were not meant for them in that season. And when they trusted, when they said, Father, lead me yourself, they received peace, even before seeing the full future. The kind of prayer that seeks the Father's will protects you from decisions made on impulse, in anxiety, or in desperation. How many times, son, daughter, have you made rushed decisions just because your heart wanted to fix everything quickly, without pain? But I tell you in love, the Father's will never takes away what is truly yours. It only protects you from carrying what was never meant for you to carry. Today I invite you to practice something simple. Before any big choice about work, relationships, changes, words you are about to say, pause for a moment and pray like this. Father, align my heart with yours. May your will be done. Then breathe. Wait a few moments. The peace that follows will be your first sign. And remember, the Father's will is not punishment, not loss, not limitation. It is care. It is direction. It is love in its purest expression. Son, daughter, I am here. And as you walk, do not be afraid. The Father's will is your safe place. If you are enjoying this time together and you want to keep walking with me in the next episodes, subscribe to keep following. That way your heart won't miss any word that can strengthen you. Beloved son, beloved daughter, how many times does your heart run ahead of today? How many nights have you lost imagining scenarios that might never exist? I see when anxiety tries to take the place of peace. I feel when your spirit tightens with fears about tomorrow, about provision, about paths that have not yet been revealed. That is why I taught, give us today our daily bread. I did not ask you to carry tomorrow's bread, nor the bread of the day after tomorrow, because each day has its own measure of grace and its own measure of challenges. If you try to carry the weight of future days, your heart buckles, because it was not created to handle more than one day at a time. When my children walked in the desert and manna fell from heaven, the Father was teaching them this very principle, to trust daily. If anyone tried to save the bread for the next day, it spoiled. It was as if the Father were saying, trust me today, and tomorrow when it comes, I will be with you again. Son, daughter, anxiety is born when you believe the future depends only on you. But I assure you, tomorrow is in the Father's hands, and those hands never fail. When I walked among you, many came to me with questions about the future. Lord, what will we eat? Lord, what if we don't have enough? Lord, what will tomorrow be like? And I looked at them with love, seeing that behind every question there was a heart trying to protect itself from pain. Then I said, do not worry about tomorrow. Not because tomorrow doesn't matter, but because the Father is already there before you. Son, daughter, I know that your mind often feels faster than your heart. You create worries before they even exist. You demand perfection from yourself. You believe that if you don't think of every possible outcome, something bad might happen. But true trust is born when you realize that you do not control the future, and even so you are safe. Today I invite you into deep rest. Live only the day that is in front of you. That is the only day the Father is asking you to live fully. If your heart is troubled by something that hasn't happened yet, give that to the Father now. Say this gently: Father, I trust you. Take care of my tomorrow. Give me today only what I need for this day. When you pray like this, you will notice something. Anxiety will lessen. The weight will ease. Hope will be born again. And son, daughter, remember, trusting is not ignoring your responsibilities. It is recognizing that there is a God who walks with you in each one of them. A practice for today: choose one worry that has been stealing your peace, just one, and say to the Father, today I give this to you. Tomorrow I'll talk to you about it again, but for now I rest. Do this sincerely. Repeat it if you need to, and watch how your heart will begin to breathe again. I am with you, and I tell you in love. Tomorrow is not your enemy. It is simply a place where the Father has already arrived before you. If this moment is bringing peace to your heart, share it with someone who also needs to rest in the Father's love. Sometimes a simple word lights up an entire life. Beloved son, beloved daughter. So few truly understand how precious forgiveness is. Many think that forgiving is just a moral gesture, a spiritual obligation, a hard act of kindness. But I tell you with love, forgiveness is a rescue mission for your heart. It does not exist to justify the other person's wrong, but to set your spirit free from the prison that bitterness builds inside you. When I taught my disciples to pray, right after asking for daily bread, I invited them to say, "Forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors." Do you see? Relationship with the Father and relationship with your neighbor are intertwined in the same spiritual breath. Lack of forgiveness closes doors inside the soul. It keeps grace from flowing freely. It builds invisible walls between you and the Father, not because He moves away, but because your heart hardens and stops receiving fully. I told the story of the unforgiving servant precisely to show this. A man who received an immense forgiveness, but refused to forgive someone else for something so small. He didn't understand that the forgiveness he received was the same forgiveness he needed to give. He wanted grace for himself, but judgment for his neighbor, and that imprisoned his soul. Son, daughter, have you carried grudges for a long time? Have you felt that weight in your chest that comes back every time someone's name is mentioned? Have you noticed how that wounded memory drains your energy, steals your joy, and hardens the way you look at life? I know your heart. I know where it hurts. And I do not judge you. I simply invite you to walk in freedom. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting what happened, nor allowing injustice, nor going back to relationships that keep wounding you. To forgive means you no longer allow the offense to keep ruling your feelings, your choices, and your peace. When I was on the cross, I felt the weight of human evil. I felt abandonment. I felt betrayal. And even then, before heaven and earth, I declared, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." I did not say that because the pain was not real, but because the pain would not be my Lord. Son, daughter, you can walk this path too, and I will walk it with you. Some people hurt you because they were hurting. Others wounded you because they carry blindness they cannot see. And some left you because they were not able to stay. But none of that has to define your future. Forgiveness makes room for healing. When you forgive, your heart finally has space again to breathe in the Father's love. Today, I invite you into a gentle but powerful practice. Choose one person who still makes you uncomfortable when you remember them. You don't have to talk to them. You don't have to explain anything. Just pray quietly like this: Father, I give this pain to you. I release this person from my judgment. Heal my heart. Your heart may resist at first, but keep repeating it sincerely. Forgiveness is a seed, and it sprouts over time. And remember, Forgiving is not a feeling, it is a decision. The feelings will come later, when grace has finished its work inside you. Beloved son, beloved daughter, you were not created to live chained to the past. The Father longs for your heart to be light, your soul at peace, your eyes clear. And I am right beside you, holding your hand as you walk through this process. When I taught my disciples to pray, "Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil," I was showing that in this life there are paths that look safe, but are not. There are thoughts that seem small, but grow. There are choices that look simple, but open doors to deep pain. Beloved son, beloved daughter, the spiritual realm is not far away. It surrounds you. It follows every step, every decision, every silent thought. That is why I called you to pray for guidance, not because the way is always dangerous, but because your heart is far too precious to walk without light. When Joseph ran from temptation, he wasn't just moving away from sin, he was running toward the Father. He understood that some battles are not won by standing your ground, but by choosing another path. He asked for direction, and the Father protected him. And I desire the same for you. Son, daughter, do not underestimate the small temptations of everyday life. The sharp word you are itching to say, the comparison that rises as you look at other people's lives, the impulsive choice made in the heat of emotion, the urge to give up when your heart is overwhelmed, the search for validation in places that don't truly nourish you. None of these things start big. Temptation always disguises itself as just this once. It's not that serious. No one will notice. That is why I invited you to pray for protection, not so you would live in fear, but so you would live aware. The Father guards you, guides you, lights your way. But it is in prayer that your soul becomes sensitive to His direction. It is there that you notice the gentle nudge that says, "Don't go that way," or the loving whisper that says, "Take this path, I am with you." Many of my children suffer because they try to fight alone against forces that were never meant to be faced with human strength. Temptation is not defeated by stubbornness, it is defeated by dependence. Dependence on the Father, dependence on the light, dependence on grace. And I tell you with love, when you pray asking for deliverance, heaven moves on your behalf. I saw this happen countless times while I walked among you. I saw people standing on the edge of destructive choices suddenly overcome by a surprising peace, a new thought, a memory of my teaching, something that changed their decision at the last moment. That son, daughter, was the Father's deliverance, and He longs to do that for you every day. A practice for today. Before you begin your tasks, pray like this: Father, guide my steps. Show me what comes from you and what does not. Deliver me from evil inside and outside of me. Then go through your day paying attention. Direction will come in gentle ways, like a thought, a sense of unease, a pull toward wisdom, an unexpected peace. Son, daughter, I am right beside you. And I tell you, no battle is greater than the hand that holds you. Beloved son, beloved daughter, when I said, "Go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is in secret," I wasn't just teaching a method. I was inviting your heart into a place where nothing is wasted and nothing is faked. Because I see when you get tired of trying to look strong. I see when your soul tries to hold a posture, when your smile tries to hide tears, when your voice tries to sound confident while your chest feels tight. And I tell you, prayer is not the place where you need to keep up appearances. When I walked among you, many prayed just to be seen. They used beautiful words, calculated tones, gestures that impressed those who watched, but did not touch the Father. Prayer had become a show, and the heart got lost in the noise. But I was looking for another kind of encounter. I was calling my disciples into a real, deep, honest relationship. The kind that doesn't need an audience, the kind that only exists when the door is closed and the heart can finally open. The secret room is not just a physical space. It is the place where you can be real, where there is no judgment, where the Father receives you exactly as you are, tired or excited, strong or fragile, confident or confused. Son, daughter, I ask you with love, when was the last time you spoke to the Father without filtering your words? When was the last time you cried in His presence without trying to hold yourself together? When was the last time you opened your soul without worrying whether your prayer was beautiful or correct? I want to remind you, the Father is not looking for speeches. He is looking for hearts. Daniel prayed in secret. 3 times a day he placed himself before the Father, without spotlights, without applause. And from that hidden place came the strength that sustained him before kings and lions. The intimacy Daniel cultivated when no one was watching was what sustained him when everyone was looking at him. It is the same with you. The battles you face on the outside are won by the roots you grow on the inside, in that quiet space between your soul and God. Son, daughter, I know your time is tight, your mind is full, your routine has become rushed. But don't let hurry steal the most precious place in your life, your secret encounter with the Father, even if it's just for a few minutes, even if it's while you're walking, even if it's sitting on the edge of your bed. Close the door on the world around you and let your heart speak. Speak with simplicity. Speak with truth. The Father leans down to listen to you. There is something I deeply want you to know. When you pray in secret, nothing you say is lost. Every sincere word becomes a seed. Every honest tear becomes healing. Every surrendered silence becomes strength. And intimacy with the Father transforms you from the inside out. When you pray far from human eyes, your heart learns to love more sincerely, to act with more compassion, to live with more authenticity. A gentle practice for today: find a small place where you can be alone. It could be a room, a hallway, a garden, or even the inner space of your own heart. Close your eyes and say only, Father, I am here. Take what is heavy, light up what has grown dark, calm what is restless. Then be quiet for a few moments. Allow the Father to meet you there. I am with you, always. I walk by your side, even when you think you are alone. And in secret, son, daughter, you will discover that you were never abandoned. Beloved son, beloved daughter, when I said, do not use vain repetitions like the pagans do, who think they will be heard because of their many words, I was setting you free from a burden that was never meant to exist. The weight of believing that the effectiveness of prayer depends on how beautiful the words are. Many think they have to speak perfectly in order to be heard. Others believe prayer has to be long, full of rehearsed phrases, full of formulas and rigid structures. But I tell you with love, the Father is not impressed by speeches. He is moved by a sincere heart. When Hannah prayed in front of the temple, her words were almost inaudible. Her lips trembled. Her heart was broken. She didn't have eloquence. She had truth. And it was that truth that opened the doors of the miracle. Son, daughter, I know your attempts to pray the right way. I see when you start to pray and soon feel insecure, thinking you said too little or said it wrong or didn't go deep enough. I notice when you repeat phrases because you believe that will make your prayer stronger. But prayer doesn't grow stronger with ornaments. It grows stronger with authenticity. When I walked among you, the prayers that moved my heart the most were not the longest, but the truest. A broken man who said, "Have mercy on me, a sinner." A woman who only touched my robe because she couldn't express all she felt. A desperate father who cried out, "Help my unbelief." Those prayers were simple, but they were real, and truth always opens the way for grace. Son, daughter, you don't have to impress the Father. You just need to be honest with Him. Prayer is the space where you can say, "Today I am tired. Today I am confused. Today I don't know what to ask for. Today my heart is weak. Today I just need to feel your peace." And I tell you, the Father receives every word as someone who receives a precious pearl. Sometimes prayer is long. Sometimes it is short. Sometimes it is silent. Sometimes it is only tears. But all of that is prayer. If your heart is present, Sincerity in prayer draws you closer to the Father because it allows you to be who you really are, not the person you try to seem like, not the person you think you should be, but the one the Father already knows deeply and loves completely. Son, daughter. When you pray, don't worry about looking strong. Strength is born precisely when you allow yourself to be weak before God. Don't be afraid to say, Father, I don't know. Father, I can't. Father, help me. These are some of the most powerful prayers I have ever heard. A gentle practice for today. When you go to pray, choose just one simple sentence. You don't need more than that. For example, Father, take care of me. Or, Father, cleanse my heart. Or even, Father, I need you. Speak it with sincerity. Rest for a moment in those words. Feel how your heart opens. And remember, son, daughter, the Father is not listening to your grammar. He is listening to your soul. Beloved son, beloved daughter, when you pray, something precious happens. Your heart turns toward the Father. But when you pray believing, your heart joins in with what the Father is doing. Faith is not a constant feeling, not an intense emotion, not a human certainty that never wavers. Faith is an inner gesture that says, Father, even if I don't see, I trust. Even if I don't understand, I rest. Even if it seems impossible, I surrender it to you. And I tell you that trust creates room for heaven to move. When the woman with the issue of blood came to me, she had no physical strength, no social position, no human reason to believe she would be received. But she had something no one could take from her, faith. And her faith was not in the fabric she touched. It was in the God she recognized in me. When her hand touched my robe, I felt something deep, a heart that believed. And so I said, Daughter, your faith has healed you. It was not the touch itself, it was the trust. It was the act of saying inside her soul, if I can just touch him. It was a hope that refused to die, even after years of suffering. Son, daughter, you also have moments when your heart grows weak and you think your faith is far too small. But I tell you with love, even a small faith in the hands of a great God works miracles greater than you can imagine. I spoke about this when I said, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, the seed is tiny, almost invisible, and yet it carries within itself the full potential of a great tree. So it is with your faith. It may seem small in your own eyes, but when you place it in the Father's hands, it becomes life, movement, transformation. Faith does not erase doubts, but chooses to trust in spite of them. Faith does not ignore difficulties, but believes the Father is greater than they are. Faith does not demand to see all the answers, but rests because it knows the Father is present. Son, daughter, many times you think that having faith means feeling something strong, but true faith is simpler and quieter. It is like taking a step even when you cannot see the whole path. It is like praying without knowing how the Father will respond. It is like waiting without letting your heart die in the waiting. When I walked among you, I saw many who asked for miracles without believing, and I saw others who believed even before they asked. To these I said, your faith has made you well. I did not say that to glorify them, but to teach. Faith opens the heart to receive what the Father already longed to give. Son, daughter, maybe your life right now feels uncertain. Maybe the answer is taking time. Maybe the road is narrow. Maybe your eyes still don't see the change. But I tell you, keep believing. Not because everything is easy, but because the Father walks with you. A gentle practice for today. Choose one area of your life where believing has been hard, just one, and pray like this. Father, increase my faith. I do believe, help my unbelief. Repeat it whenever your heart wavers. Faith grows when it is fed with truth, surrender, and trust. And remember, I am with you, always. Even when your faith is small, my love for you is immense. Beloved son, Beloved daughter, gratitude is not just a polite gesture, it is a spiritual force that realigns your heart with heaven. That is why, before many miracles, I lifted my eyes and thanked the Father. Not because the miracle had already happened, but because my heart recognized the Father's faithfulness even before seeing the outcome. When they brought me 5 loaves and 2 fish, the crowd was huge, the hunger was great, and the resources so small. Even so, I lifted the bread and gave thanks. Son, daughter, do you see what I did? I gave thanks for the little, and the little was multiplied in the Father's hands. Gratitude has that power. It turns lack into possibility, weakness into strength, fear into hope. Many look at life and see only what is missing. But when you give thanks, your eyes begin to see what is already there and what the Father is still preparing. Gratitude takes you out of the place of anxiety and places you in the place of trust. It reminds you that the Father sustained you yesterday, and therefore He will also sustain you today and tomorrow. When I stood in front of Lazarus's tomb, before calling my friend back to life, I said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I gave thanks before the impossible happened, because gratitude goes ahead of God's work, not as a demand but as an expression of trust. Son, daughter, how many times do you pray only from a place of lack? How many times is your prayer a reflection of what troubles you, of what weighs you down, of what still hasn't been resolved? I understand you, but I invite you to something deeper. Learn to give thanks even when you still don't see the answer. Gratitude makes room inside you for peace to settle. It lifts you above your circumstances and reminds you that your story is in the Father's hands, not in your worries. I have seen hearts transformed simply because they decided to be thankful. People who lived trapped in comparison began to see beauty in their own path. People consumed by anxiety discovered rest as they gave thanks for the small lights they found in their day. People who felt alone realized that the Father had always been there, just waiting for them to reconnect with His goodness. Son, daughter, gratitude does not deny the pains of life. It simply teaches you that, even in the middle of them, the Father's presence is still enough. And I tell you this, a thankful heart attracts miracles, not because it deserves them, but because it is willing to receive them. Gratitude makes you sensitive to what heaven is doing. It lights your steps. It expands your faith. It prepares you for what the Father wants to pour out over you. A gentle practice for today: choose 3 small things, they don't have to be big, that you can be thankful for right now. Maybe a smile you received, a simple meal, a quiet moment, someone who listened to you, or simply the fact that you are breathing. Say to the Father, thank you. I recognize your goodness in my life. Let this simple practice warm your heart from the inside. Beloved son, beloved daughter, when you give thanks, you connect yourself to hope. And where there is hope, there is life moving. Beloved son, beloved daughter, prayer is not only the place where you speak, it is the place where you learn to listen. That's why I now lead you into a deeper understanding. True prayer seeks wisdom. When James wrote, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all generously," he was echoing what I had always shared with my disciples. Because wisdom does not come from hurry, nor from human experience, nor from the collection of opinions the world offers. Wisdom comes from the Father, and it is poured over you when your heart asks sincerely. Son, daughter, there are times when you pray for answers, when what you really need is direction. There are moments when you ask for change, when what you need is to discern the right step. And there are moments when you ask for strength, when in truth what you need is light. In prayer, the Father shows you what your eyes cannot yet see. He reveals paths that impulse will never reveal, solutions that anxiety will not let you notice, and opportunities that only appear when your soul rests in Him. But wisdom does not travel alone. It always comes with another precious gift, God's timing. Son, daughter, I know how much it hurts to wait. I know the anguish of feeling like the answer hasn't come, like the miracle is taking too long, like the situation never changes, like the days feel too long. But the Father is never late. He is preparing. His timing is never punishment. It is care. Abraham and Sarah waited for what seemed impossible. They waited beyond logic, beyond human strength, beyond age. And even when their hearts wavered, the Father remained faithful. Because God's timing does not depend on human limitations. It is the same with you, son. Daughter, your prayers are not lost. They are being aligned with the paths that will help you grow, mature, and bloom. What feels like delay is often protection. What feels like silence is often construction. And I tell you with love, what is yours in the Father is never lost. It simply arrives at the right time. But while you wait, there is something that strengthens your faith and keeps your soul steady, praying while declaring the Father's promises. When I faced the desert, I didn't use human strength, I used the Father's word. Every answer I gave was grounded in Scripture, because I wanted to teach you that prayer grows stronger when it leans on eternal truth. Son, daughter, when your heart is weak, declare what the Father has already said. When doubt comes, repeat what has already been promised. When fear tries to come in, affirm what heaven has already confirmed. The promise does not exist to dazzle you. It exists to sustain you. It reminds you that your faith is not resting on feelings, but on unchanging truths. If you say, Lord, I don't know what to do, remember, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask. If you say, I can't stand waiting any longer, remember, the one who promised is faithful. If you say, I am afraid it will all go wrong, remember, I am with you always. Son, daughter, every promise of the Father is an anchor, and every prayer that leans on those promises becomes stronger, deeper, more transforming. A gentle practice for today. Choose one promise from the Word that speaks to your heart. Just one. Repeat it throughout the day, calmly, with faith, with hope. Let it wrap around you like a hug from the Father. And before we close this episode of the podcast, I want to ask you something with love, not for me, but so that more sons and daughters can receive words that heal. If this message has blessed you, like it and share it with someone who might be in need of light. Love always reaches farther when it is shared. I am here, and I will remain with you in every prayer, every step, and every silence.